Hi there, everybody. This is Bill Houston, and you're watching the Bill Houston podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Please donate if you can to the link below, tinyurl.com. Donate to Bill Houston. If you don't do PayPal, my USPS address is P.O. Box 22, Endicott, New York, 13761. Or you can just Google Bill Houston's fracking resume. All of those details, my PayPal and my snail mail address, are all right there. And I really need your support in order to continue doing this work. And I'm under a lot of pressure, which I'm not going to get into right now, but I have a lot of pressures on my life right now, friends. So really could use your support if you appreciate the work that I've done. If you just Google Bill Houston's fracking resume, you can see what I've done in the past 10 years. And I have a pretty long history of doing good public service work. We got this very important NYSEG rate case coming up. They only happen once every 3 years. They're proposing a rate increase for electric rates up to 24%, and for gas rates, I think it was up to 4%. If you want to make a comment, this is your opportunity. If you want to file comments by mail, so here's how you do that. You address the envelope and direct the comments to the Honorable Kathleen H. Burgess, Secretary, Public Service Commission, 3 Empire State Plaza, Albany, New York, 12223. You can call the opinion line, 1-800-335-2120. That's 1-800-335-2120, 24 hours a day. Comments provided through this line are not transcribed, but a summary is provided to the ALJ and the Commission for their consideration. Comments submitted by these alternative means are requested by August 26, 2019, though comments will be accepted throughout these proceedings. Once again, the 2 docket numbers you need to reference are 19E 0378, that's for electric, and also 19G 0379, that's for gas. You can also email comments to secretary@dps.ny.gov. That's secretary@dps.ny.gov.
Dan Livingston and Nancy Moen will follow.
Thank you. First of all, I want to welcome everybody to the City Council chambers. I'm a Binghamton City Councilman, and it's always great to see a crowd in here. I also just want to make a comment on process. I feel like these folks from NYSEG came here ill-prepared to answer questions. They only had to do 20 minutes of Q&A, and I thought it was really disappointing that they really weren't prepared to answer some basic questions about the proportion of the different priorities that they have, the proportion of the money that's going to be coming from the rate increase. It's going to be going to these different aspects of their 3 priority areas. But I don't have a whole lot to say, but one thing that I would like to mention is that it just seems that we're looking at NYSEG's priorities here. They have presented us with 3 areas that they want to spend money, and listening to members of the public who came here to speak tonight, it seems that their priorities are out of step with the public's priorities. And looking at the agenda coming out of Albany, it really looks like their priorities, NYSEG's priorities, are out of step with New York State's priorities. And so I would just urge the Public Service Commission to really do a little bit of soul searching and take a look at what NYSEG is really proposing to do into the next 5-10 years, and if that really matches up with what the public wants, and if that really matches up with where New York State is headed right now. Thank you.
Thank you. And I apologize if I'm not saying your name right. After Nancy Moen, Andrea Lister.
So I'm Nancy Moen. I am a resident of Otsego County and a ratepayer for NYSEG. I work in emergency services as a physician assistant in Otsego County. And as a I do request that NYSEG's application for a rate increase for the expansion of the De Ruyter gas pipeline and the electric rate increase request be denied. I feel that giving a rate increase for the electric request is basically rewarding bad behavior. So to start, the New York State Department of Public Service is commissioned, and I thank you, to ensure safe public services while protecting the natural environment and stimulating markets for clean, renewable energy resources and service innovations. NYSEG's application to expand the De Ruyter pipeline is in direct opposition to this mission. Per the phrase, "If we build it, they will come," an expanded pipeline capable of tripling the delivery of natural gas to Oneonta is surely designed to promote increased fossil fuel use, no matter what they say. On its website, the NYSEG monopoly strongly encourages today for customers to convert to natural gas. It is certain that if this pipeline expansion is approved, consumption of natural gas will increase in both residential and commercial venues in Oneonta and the surrounding areas. As a result, clean, renewable energy projects will be stifled. And from what I hear here, it sounds like they've already been stifled in terms of the solar farms. This is a direct conflict with the policy of the New York State Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, which seeks to reduce statewide greenhouse gas emissions by 85% by 2050. So much time, effort, and monies have already been pledged towards this goal. An expanded 50-mile, 12-inch diameter De Ruyter pipeline has no place in New York's energy future. If allowed to be built, it will quickly become obsolete, but still on the ratepayers' shoulders. Despite the disapproval of Oneonta citizens, the local IDA with NYSEG continues to push massive development fueled by natural gas. Citizen response to a fossil-fueled project has remained overwhelmingly negative, as demonstrated in multiple open meetings. It is a fact that the climate crisis is in a crisis due to human causes, due to fossil fuel use. It is imperative that we reduce fossil fuel consumption. Should this pipeline application be approved, NYSEG will exploit customers like myself to finance a project which not only expands, but encourages increased use of fossil fuel over renewables. Ratepayers will be forced to pay for a project which they rightly reject because it violates New York State energy policy and will cause permanent harm to our communities and environment. The climate crisis is now. New York leaders and citizens have formulated a framework for a more hopeful environmental future. I ask that you join in this vision, deny this application. I ask that you advocate for the ratepayers to, as your mission states, secure safe public services, which include protecting the natural environment and stimulating markets for clean, renewable energy. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrea Lister, to be followed by Teresa Winchester.
I'd like to thank the Public Service Commission for allowing me to speak. I am a resident of Oneonta, New York, which is at the end of the De Ruyter pipeline. NYSEG's 2015 rate case allowed the utility to collect money to replace the 25 miles of the De Ruyter pipeline from Norwich to Oneonta with 10-inch pipe. In 3 years, NYSEG has collected about $32 million for this project. But NYSEG now says it does not plan to pursue the expansion. I have to wonder where the money has gone, and if it's still there, what could it be used for? NYSEG transcripts provided for the rate case show only 3% demand growth for 3 years from Oneonta. Overall, central New York has a high poverty rate and a declining population. It makes no sense for NYSEG to triple gas supply and charge a heavy rate increase. Other options, like non-pipeline alternatives such as renewables, would make much more sense. New York State has passed new legislation to expand renewable deployment and cut greenhouse gas emissions. The legislation makes NYSEG's expanded pipeline plan obsolete even before it is built. Sometimes I wonder, however, if New York State only has this plan for certain areas. I seem to notice there are some places where a pipeline is pushed, the increase in natural gas infrastructure is encouraged, and in other areas not so much. So sometimes I feel like we here who live near the Binghamton area and in Otsego County absolutely have no voice with regard to what we want for our environment and for our communities. Instead of 70 years worth of additional pipe, NYSEG needs to upgrade its Phase 3 power lines and substations to accommodate wind and solar farm. If the divider needs replacing, put a 10-inch pipe from Sheds, New York to Norwich and an 8-inch pipe from Norwich to Oneonta. This will save $100 million, which can then be spent on renewable incentives. The electric-based energy infrastructure of our future will take much more planning than NYSEG has done, and unfortunately a lot of oversight on your part. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Teresa Winchester, and then we'll have George Holmesy.
Okay, well, first of all, I would like to urge everyone who has spoken here tonight to share your comments in the form of a letter to the editor or an op-ed piece or social media or local talk shows or whatever, because there's been a lot of good information that the public needs to know, and the public right now is not very well informed on this. Hardly anybody knows what's going on right now. And also send your comments to Governor Cuomo, because he needs to know where we stand on this and that we're not going to let him get away with this. Also, many people have been very polite. I'm afraid I'm not that polite. They've thanked you for meeting with us tonight. But it's my understanding, and really I had to do a lot of searching on the internet to get the names of the members of the Public Service Commission. It's my understanding that the chair is Mr. John Rhodes. Is that correct?
That's correct.
There's also Miss Berman, Diane Berman, Mr. Sayer.
He's no longer a member.
He's no longer on it. And Mr. Alessi.
That's correct.
Where are they tonight?
I do not know.
From my research, the Ballotpedia shows they make $127,000 a year. Do they need a raise to get here? I make about 20% of that, and I'm here. So I personally am disappointed that they're not here to hear what all of these people who care so much about the climate and about their fellow citizens. I'm sorry they're not here to hear what people have to say. I don't think that the written comments are quite going to come through like that. So I'm going to skip a lot of what I had to say because I've already taken up a lot of time. But so I'll just start by saying that I'm going to cite 3 sources to which the Public Service Commission should refer in making its decision. I think I left my glasses here. First of all, in 2018, the leading international body of climate change researchers, the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, released a report on the impacts of global warming and what it would take to cap the Earth's annual rising temperature at 1.5 degrees Celsius or 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit, the necessary cap to prevent irreversible damage to our planet. The report emphatically states that the basic facts of climate crisis are grim and that the vast majority of fossil fuel reserves need to stay in the ground. And that means not in pipelines in the ground, but just in the ground. Secondly, the second source I would cite is Bill McKibben, who is an acclaimed environmentalist, author, and journalist who has written extensively on the impact of global warming. He is the leader of an anti-carbon campaign group, 350.org, whose website plainly states human beings are causing climate change largely by burning fossil fuels. Even in this dire situation, McKibben says we can survive. How? Keep fossil fuels in the ground and quickly transition to 100% renewable energy. The science says it's still possible to stay under 1.5 Celsius, but we need to have emissions by 2030 and increase the share of solar, wind, and hydro energy dramatically in that time. That's according to Bill McKibben. And thirdly, and close to home, as many people have cited, the New York State has passed the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, which calls for 70% of its electricity to come from renewable sources by 2030 and 100% of its electricity to come from carbon-free sources by 2040. Nothing in the NYSEG Avangrid DeRuyter proposal supports any of the actions recommended to slow climate change. On the contrary, it promotes the use of fossil fuels so deadly to this planet. With the DeRuyter proposal, NYSEG Avangrid has chosen to stand on the wrong side of history, the wrong side of humanity. Tonight, I, along with the majority of people here, call upon you, John Rhodes, in absentia, Diane Berman, in absentia, and who's the other? James Alessi, in absentia, to be on the right side of history. We call upon you to deny the application by NYSEG Avangrid to expand its DeRuyter pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you. George Holmesy is next, to be followed by Christina Kramer.
Good evening. My name is George Holmesy, and I rent an apartment. I have rented an apartment for about 6 years right here in downtown Binghamton, New York. And I bring that up because what I want NYSEG to do is make it easier for renters, such as me, to become part of the solution. As we've heard over and over again tonight, climate change is the most dire threat facing humanity, but it's often very difficult for renters to access renewable power or to engage in energy conservation. So I'm asking that NYSEG make it easier to join community solar projects, speed the connection of such projects, and lower the fixed energy costs so that renters can see the fiscal advantages of energy conservation. Since I don't own my apartment or own a house, I can't put solar panels on the roof of my building. So I found out about a community solar project in Newfield that I could join. Excellent. I could have my solar power as a renter. I was very happy until I started to learn the hurdles that were in the way. First, there was the paperwork. Could I just switch to a community solar project? No. I had to designate the solar company as the community solar company as an authorized business partner, as if I had a business. This required reviewing and signing a daunting legal document. I should not have to consult my attorney in order to switch to solar power. Then I had to cancel budget billing, and then many customers would also have had to consolidate NYSEG and Energy Service Company billing. It was a long process of paperwork that was intimidating even to me, and I'm a strong environmental advocate. How can we expect lots of people to join community solar projects with such hurdles in place? Second, it took 5 months for NYSEG to complete the project's interconnection to the grid. As someone who had signed up, I received an email on November 2nd that the solar farm was complete, but it was not until March that I could claim that I was finally using solar power, because it took so long for NYSEG to test and interconnect the system. It should not be this long or this hard for renters to join community solar projects or for those projects to come online. Finally, NYSEG billing practices seem to be anti-conservation. I pay $15.11 as a basic service charge, 2 and 3 times as much as is paid by customers in other states. It's really hard for me to make my bill go down when I have such a high basic service charge stuck on there no matter how much I use. My basic service charge in my one-bedroom apartment is the same as someone who owns a 10,000 square foot mansion. The high basic service charge imposed by NYSEG inhibits the ability of renters such as me to see some of the financial benefits of conservation. So as part of this rate case, I would ask the Public Service Commission to make sure that NYSEG be required to invest in the technical personnel needed to make solar and wind power testing and interconnections faster, much faster. That NYSEG should be required to reduce the paperwork needed to switch to renewable power projects so that consumers such as me could find it much, much easier to join these projects and less intimidating. And finally, they should lower the cost of fixed charges and increase the ability of renters to reap the fiscal benefits of conservation. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Christina Kramer, to be followed by Lisa Marshall.
Hello, my name is Christina Kramer. I'm the Research and Special Projects Coordinator at the Broome County Executive's Office. On behalf of Broome County Executive Jason Garner, thank you for seeking input from the public here in Broome County. County and Executive Garner could not be here tonight, but he sent the following that I should read today. As Broome County Executive, I represent nearly 200,000 residents, individuals, families, seniors, and children. I represent the not-for-profit organizations and businesses large and small. I represent a government with 12 buildings and thousands of employees. We all require the utilities provided only by NYSEG. In 2018, Broome County Office for Aging received over 600 calls related to utility payment issues. Seniors make up to 24% of the Broome County population. Many of our seniors are on fixed incomes and struggling to stay in their homes. Although benefits such as HEAP help lower income older adults, many people still fall short on having enough money to pay their utility bills. Many people will have to choose between heat and other necessities such as food and medication if rates increase. During the HEAP season 2018, Broome County Department of Social Services provided more than 21,000 benefits for heating expenses. That is over 10% of the population of the county struggling with regular or emergency heating or repairs. Over 13,000 firms do business in Broome County. Increasing their utility rates negatively impacts our regional economy and the jobs of tens of thousands of residents. A low estimation of annual county electric costs is $500,000. A 20% increase of that is an additional $100,000, and that's not factoring gas heating costs. This is a significant expense that the county would be required to find from taxpayer dollars. We may have to cut programs, fire employees, or raise taxes to make those payments. Residents could be doubly impacted by both NYSEG's increased rates and potentially increased taxes. An increase as proposed by NYSEG is an unfair burden on residents and businesses in Broome County. I've received an enormous number of messages from residents who are alarmed and scared that their utility bills could go up. They cannot afford it. As the elected representative of all our residents, I strongly urge the Commission to consider the short and long-term impacts that these rate increases on all areas of life in Broome County. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Marshall, and then Becca Forsyth will be next.
Good evening. My name's Lisa Marshall. I live in Horseheads, New York, which is in Chemung County. I'm a volunteer with the climate organization Mothers Out Front and former staff member of that organization, and currently work for Heat Smart Tompkins, although here I represent just myself and Mothers Out Front. My husband is a retired Navy officer, and we settled in this beautiful part of New York after his Navy career and raised our 3 children here. I just want to say on a personal note that our children all suffer from anxiety about what their future holds because of climate change, and are making life decisions based on that reality. So my husband and I have done everything we can to provide for our children and a livable future for them, as well as a healthy present. We installed solar panels on our house with some help from New York State, but where was NYSEG? We have purchased a electric hybrid plug-in car. I drove to Ithaca to the rate case hearing yesterday, paid to park in a garage because I knew there was an electric charging station, but it was full. Again, New York State has been working on putting out some charging stations, but where's NYSEG? We actually don't have enough solar panels for our electric use now that we have the car, and would love to pay into community solar, but we can't do that either. And So in order to get the rest of our electricity from renewable sources, we can't rely on NYSEG. We have to be at the mercy of the predatory ESCOs here in New York State, and that's, I consider that unacceptable. So in my job for Heat Smart, what I'm trying to do is to help people to find out how they can convert their home heating and cooling and water heating to beneficial electrification. NYSEG said here tonight they want to promote beneficial electrification, but if they're going to raise the electricity rates, that's just laughable, because of course when I speak to people, everybody is interested. I haven't spoken to a single person from any political party, any background, who doesn't want to convert their home heating to either ground source or air source heat. And the first thing they say is they can't figure out how to afford it. So in my job with Heat Smart, I can show them that if we can help them to figure out the upfront payment, that over time it will save them money. And that is the most convincing argument I have. If we raise the electricity rates, that argument goes away. Same thing for electric cars, etc. This is just absolutely the complete opposite of what we need to do if we are going to remain an industrialized society and also meet the climate emergency that's facing us right now. I just want to say also that I'm from Chemung County, which is one of the poorest, oldest, sickest counties in New York State. No hearings from the New York government ever come to Elmira, which is one of only 2 cities in the country that is still in recession. We have incredible poverty. Just a year ago, my Facebook feed reminds me we were underwater from climate-related storms. Elmira is built on a floodplain. Our children are 1 in 4, at least, of our children are food insecure. And our families are struggling to pay their NYSEG bills, and often making, as everyone here has already said, difficult choices month to month. So, you know, I don't have much more to say other than that the Public Service Commission has really stepped up this year in a way that we've never seen before to try to hold the utilities to account. As we all know, NYSEG has been the most recalcitrant and difficult utility to make all the transitions we need to make in New York State, and so the Public Service Commission and the government of the state of New York need to really stand up to the utilities and make it very clear any utility operating in New York State will no longer get away with this kind of behavior. They're going to get kicked right out. So thank you very much.
Becca Forsyth is next, followed by, I don't know if Peter Huddleberg. I'm not sure I really have
Difficulty reading it, so if I mispronounce it, I apologize.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I have been a paying customer from NYSEG in Elmira, New York for over 30 years. I am also one of the 9.9 million poor and low-wealth residents that live here in New York State. Elmira has recently been cited, as Lisa just pointed out, in the USA Today as being one of only 2 cities in the country that are still in recession. 96% of our housing stock was built before 1980, and 78% of it was built before 1950, making us a hotspot for both lead poisoning and energy inefficiency. Our median household income doesn't go over $30,000 a year. We can't afford to shoulder another rate hike tied to our critical need for energy. I have also been the unfortunate recipient of one of the 7 million shutoff notices that NYSEG has issued since they've been in business. I am here as a representative of the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. I ask that we work together to fight poverty and not the poor. New Yorkers are promised a degree of energy justice in a series of laws that grant energy services to all residential customers without unreasonable qualifications or lengthy delays, which is necessary for the preservation of the health and general welfare as it pertains to the public interest. Extracting another rate hike for our access to energy seems unreasonable and places large barriers in terms of health and general welfare to our public. Power companies in New York are required to offer deferred payment agreements after you get a shutoff. But when I call to ask for one, I'm told the fact that I once defaulted, I am no longer eligible for that privilege. So I am to be judged based on my performance in my 20s when my kids were little and I had to choose Christmas presents or NYSEG, heat in my home or Thanksgiving dinner for my family, and now I'm a grandmother. When are we going to stop fighting the poor? One thing that needs to be examined is the disproportionate impact fixed fees have on the impoverished. This is just like another luxury tax that we can't afford, but it is intimately linked with a necessity that we can't live without. NYSEG could invest in income-based programs that help the poor and low-wealth folks like myself to achieve energy efficiency in our homes. They could stop investing in the gas and fracking infrastructure that is driving this ecological devastation and causing damage to the environment and the economy. They could stop destroying the land and exploiting the poor. They could stop pushing the falsehood that there is any such thing as a safe pipeline. They can stop our dependence on fossil fuels that are accelerating this climate change. Those are only some of the prices that we cannot afford to pay. It is for these and many other reasons that I ask the Public Service Commission to say no to the requested rate hike. If NYSEG wants more of our money, I ask them, what have you done for us lately? Take into consideration the poor and low wealth who make up 51% of New York State. Also consider the damage being done to Mother Earth, our only home. Please take into account people over profits. Thank you for your time.